and welcome to the Anterix Industry Insights. For those of you that are new to the Industry Insights, this is a series where we bring together thought leaders from the utilities, telecoms, policy landscape to have deep conversations and how private wireless networks is transforming the utility of the future. So I'm really excited for today's conversation, which is the 900 megahertz revolution in action. What I like about that word is action, right? So we're going to take these insights and put that into action. I'm Alice Moy-Gonzalez, the Senior Vice President of Strategic Development at Anterix. And joining me today are esteemed panelists that have a deep history of collaborating with us. Jeff Pittman, who is the Head of Enterprise Unit of Mobile Networks at Nokia. Dana Jabber, who is the Vice President and Head of Utilities in North America at Ericsson. And Zhang, who is the Head of Strategic Initiatives and Grid Solutions at GE Vernova. So welcome, everyone. Maybe before we get in deeper to today's topic, maybe if you could give the audience a quick background as to your role at your organization as we set things up today. Jeff, let's start with you.
Hey, thanks so much, Alice. And as you said, my name is Jeff Pittman, and I'm heading up the Enterprise Market Unit for Nokia Mobile Networks in North America. And in short, we eat, sleep, and breathe private wireless. And I'm happy to say that we absolutely love it. And let me say that I am also super excited to be speaking with you today, Alice. And it's truly an honor to be joined here with Dana and Sue. And you know, while we obviously work at different companies, I know that we all have the same goal in mind, and which is to help facilitate the adoption of private wireless by utilities as part of their grid modernization efforts to strengthen and grow the ecosystem and to also drive innovation. And perhaps most importantly, be that trusted advisor and partner every step of the way of a utility's private wireless journey. So thank you, Alice, for moderating today, and thanks to Anterix for including us in this very important discussion and initiative.
Thank you for being here, Jeff. And now I'll kick it over to Dana.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, Alice, Jeff, and Sue. I'm Dana Jabber. I lead sales and delivery for Ericsson in the mission-critical network space with a focus on utilities. As Jeff mentioned, it's a super exciting space to be in. I believe we're at an inflection point where private wireless has become not a question if, it's a question of when. And this kind of marries with my love for technology and also my care for the planet and my fellow citizens and the benefits that private wireless can bring to us as consumers, to the utilities as an enterprise, and to the planet. So really exciting time to be here and working with all of you on bringing this initiative forward, and also to collaborate with Anterix and the other ecosystem partners to continuously innovate in this space.
Thank you for that introduction, Dana. Sue, we'd love to hear more about your background.
Yes, thank you, Alice. And first, definitely, I want to echo my co-panelists, Jeff and Dana, for the great invite and the opportunity to be speaking with our customers today in partnership with Anterix. My role within GE Vernova is to pursue strategic partnerships and growth opportunities so that together with partners like Ericsson, Nokia, and Anterix, we can be solving for the broader energy problems that many of our customers and utilities are facing today. And within GE Vernova and myself as a passion point, we know that there are a lot of roadblocks with grid modernization initiatives. Nonetheless, it's something very important for society, right? So that our grid is modernizing. And telecom infrastructure is truly just one backbone piece to that bigger grid modernization story. At GE Vernova, we are really excited to be driving some of that energy change and very excited to have partners like yourselves to support us and to make a better solution ultimately for our customers. So excited to discuss what that means in more depth as we go through this webinar.
Sounds great. So I'm gonna just harness all of this excitement and the collaboration that we're talking about. And something also, Dana, you had mentioned in terms of, we're here to solve the problems for the utilities. And that's why we're coming together. If I go back in time, all companies have been working together for several years. One milestone moment was back in 2019. This was before anyone had deployed their private network on 900 megahertz. There were a lot of conversations that were coming up. Tell us more about the technology. Yes, we understand that this is a private system. We're using standards-based technology. We're going to leverage your spectrum on 900 megahertz. How do I put this into action? And because multiple questions were coming up to each of our organizations, we were able to take a step back and say, how could we do this more collaboratively? Fast forward today, we have the Utility Broadband Alliance that each one of us are active members of, where there's a melting pot of discussions around how do we solve the needs of the utilities, specifically with private wireless broadband. Fast forward a bit, right? Now we're in 2021, where a handful of utilities then already embarked on the journey, selling internally why they would need a private broadband solution and standards-based technology with our spectrum. And they were also looking at, well, how do I ensure the rest of the organization adopt it and build it into various use cases? So taking a look at their private networks from an end-to-end standpoint, from the device, component level, application, and everything in between with the RAN infrastructure and core, really meant coming together in the ecosystem, right? So we launched the Anterix ecosystem back in 2021 to make this more of a seamless process for the utilities, answering some of their key questions. How would this make them more resilient, more secure, right? As we launched a security collective, and give them economies of scale in working together. So along that way, again, we've been collaborating within the organization to solve the utilities' needs. But what we saw as we listened, we all continuously listen to our utility partners of what their needs are as they progress. And as someone said before, it's not a matter of if, it's when. So utilities that build out private wireless networks are doing it because they have a higher level of security, control, and resiliency. Without it, they cannot support the needs of the grid. However, it's an enterprise decision, right, is what we found. And the decision is not always an easy process, that they identified some, I would call it friction points, that if we could address it, it would be a great opportunity for them to lean in and get the benefits of private wireless networks sooner. So back in March of this year, we launched the AnterixAccelerator program, which was to provide commercial flexible solutions for the utilities. And we've seen great participation in it to date, to really allow the utilities to participate in getting these solutions sooner in their organizations. However, what makes this even more exciting is the work that each one of your organizations is stepping into, right, in response to that accelerator program, how you're working on it, whether it's from a bundling solution or thinking about how you help them through their deployment stages to really remove that friction from their deployment. So we continuously look at the problems to be solved and come together to have a more collaborative way to address it. So let's get into the discussion, right, on how your organizations are working within this program. And specifically, Jeff, let's start about, why is it such an important conversation and why now? So from your perspective, what makes this the right moment for utilities to explore 900 megahertz private wireless broadband?
Yeah, what a really great question to start with, Alice, I think. And let me say from my perspective, or even Nokia's perspective, we see this as really a turning point for utilities. And the utility industry has previously relied on, let's say, aging or often proprietary communication systems for quite some time. And although perhaps great at the time, these systems just weren't designed for the scale, speed, and security demands of today's grid. However, what we're seeing now is really an opportunity to move towards something that's modern, open, and built to evolve. and that is a 3GPP standards-based private wireless network. And I'm proud to say that at Nokia, we've been working alongside utilities and helping them to modernize for over 20 years. And whether that was the shift from TDM to IP MPLS, or now towards private wireless. What's exciting to me, Alice, is that this isn't just a one-size-fits-all push. And I always say at Nokia, we recognize that every utility is in a different place. And through our work with Anterix and the AnterixAccelerator program, we're offering customized commercial solutions, also technical flexibility and support that really meets needs no matter where they are on their own journey. And it's definitely a journey, and no matter what their needs are, right? And maybe just to add one more thing, if I may, I believe that this isn't a matter, just like everybody said here already, I truly believe it. That's why I'm going to say again, it's not a matter of if utilities make the shift, it's a matter of when. And I also believe, to expand on that, that those that move now are going to be in a much stronger position to lead the future of the industry. And you know, Alice, with the ecosystem maturing, the technology ready, and programs like the Anterix Accelerator initiative, lowering the barriers for utilities, I truly do believe that this is the right moment and the time is now.
Those are excellent points, Jeff. And we find that there's so many other stakeholders within the utilities that are speaking about networks, which is a big shift from where you may have started 20 years ago in those conversations, right? It's being escalated to the boardroom. So recognizing this is a strategic investment, and we have the opportunity to help utilities on that journey, it's so important. So you mentioned the Anterix Accelerator and how you're working together with us. Maybe Dana, can you, when we launched the accelerator as a response to the evolving needs of the utilities, where we combined or licensed spectrum with curated partner support, what's your perspective in how this is shaping the utility conversations, right? Are you seeing a shift in how the utilities engage around private broadband at 900?
We've definitely seen a lot of excitement in the utility ecosystem when the accelerator program was announced. I think it acted as a tipping point for a number of utilities to actually make the move. As Jeff said, there couldn't be a better time in terms of affordability, in terms of the maturity of the ecosystem, and success stories from the early adopters like SCE, SDG&E, Ameren, Evergy, Southern Link, and others. There have been a lot of success stories along the way to help the telecom groups, the OT groups in building that story and building that business case towards the executives and also towards the public commission. So from an Ericsson standpoint, we are partnering with Anterix and the Accelerator program and putting together flexible technical solutions, as Jeff mentioned. No one utility is in the same position as the other. There are a lot of lessons learned from engaging with those early adopters and what we have seen here in the US and also globally, quite frankly, with other deployments we've done across the world, and helping build the business case with all the different use case levers, whether it's the aging LMR systems, wildfire mitigation, enhanced security, etc. So we've put together components of solution offerings and technical support to help Anterix and the utilities build together that business case, build together the storyline towards the commission, do some testing, some early prototyping, kind of test how this network is going to work out for them, and hopefully speed up that process for them to move into the next step into the deployment phase.
Those are some really important aspects. So, you're helping them with the business modeling, identifying the use case, also selling to different constituents, like you said, the regulators, right? And affordability. It's something that it's a key question that comes up. So touching on these various aspects definitely should help the utilities move more quickly. So anything you'd want to expand on there from GE's Vernova's perspective?
No, I definitely agree with what Dana and Jeff were saying up till now, especially the comment about it's when and not if. I think a key element here about the Anterix Accelerator partnership is that it provides also an element of de-risking, right, for our customers, because risk is an important thing to be managing, especially for utilities. And by having this very mature and, let's say, pre-tested vendor ecosystem, which GE Vernova is a part of with our devices plugging into Anterix's Spectrum system, we're able to provide that extra level of guarantee and a level of, worry-free management when utilities are thinking about how do I start to embark on this fairly complex journey. They can know that through this vendor ecosystem of partners that we've got pieces of that full system solved already for them. And I think that's something very important about this program, is that element of not just, of course, the financial incentivization, but that element of de-risking the problem.
Understood. That is really important. And when you're working with Anterix in this initiative, Jeff, is there anything else that Nokia is doing that you'd like to highlight through the Accelerator program?
Yeah, maybe just to expand a little bit on what Dana and Sue said, just more about the impact that we're seeing that the AnterixAccelerator program or initiative is having. But I definitely think it is creating real momentum in the market, as was said, right? And not just sparking new interest. I think the interest is there, but it's really accelerating the decision making, I think, which was one of the intended purposes, I think, by this all coming together. And we're seeing that utilities that once kind of sitting on the sidelines in a way are now leaning in. And I think a big reason for that is the clarity and confidence that this initiative is providing, not just Nokia, but us coming together, Ericsson, Nokia, GE, and of course, UBBA was mentioned before, and I'll make a little plug there about that, just since we all are part of UBBA, and I'm on the board as well. So it aligns very well with the UBBA vision statement. And really the conversations have moved from, is this something we should think about, to really now, how do we get started? And certainly we're having more conversations with utilities than ever before that are ready to act and are really looking for that partner who's done this before to help them start their journey.
Right. And Jeff and Dana, within your respective organizations, you do this on a large scale globally, and this being working within the 3GPP standards, right? And so it's something that you could do with your eyes closed. However, with the utilities, it's something new. So when we think about the journey of utilities of the strategy, why is this important? I think we're saying that utilities basically get that, right? So once they could make that leap into how can they afford it, right? So we're helping with the business case to how do you implement it in day one? So what does my design process look like? My deployment journey, my project management phase, it would be key components of the infrastructure and systems. And then that gets integrated into your radios, right? So Sue, what GE is providing through the applications. So thinking about all of those components, it's really exciting to hear how each of your organizations is helping along that path, right? And with the utilities knowing that there is expertise around the table that they could lean on, whether it's through UBBA, through the Accelerator program, we're ready to put that into action. So really important work that each of you are doing and we're doing together. With those that are looking to participate in the Accelerator, we know that early engagement is key. What advantages would utilities have by signaling their interest by entering discussions sooner rather than later in it? Dana, do you want to share your perspective on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Accelerator program truly accelerates the phases of the journey. That's the whole intent. And it's by bringing in this expertise, this knowledge sharing from the vendor ecosystem, as well as the other utilities who've gone down this road before. We're doing this knowledge sharing, helping them think through all the different pieces of the puzzle that they need to put in place in order to have a true resilient, secure, reliable network infrastructure to enable this grid digitalization. So it's a question of not just building the business case, but to your point earlier about how do I deploy this network? There are expertise in doing this with other utilities decades of doing this with operators, rolling out these networks as part of the standardization and implementing these best practices that we bring to the table. But there's also the question of, well, I don't have the people who understand how to manage this. How do I do that, right? And there are managed services programs that we bring to the table, and we educate our utilities customers on and show them how we can hold them throughout this journey until they're self-sufficient from a technology standpoint and comfortable with managing and owning and operating that network and really leveraging it for all those wonderful use cases it's capable of bringing to life.
And Sue, is that the same thing that you see from GE Vernova's perspective?
Yes, definitely. I think an early engagement that we've experienced with some utilities helps actually them, in fact, embark on the journey with a little bit more confidence because they have a trusted kind of consultative partner early on. So you don't, as a customer, you don't need to feel like you're on that journey alone. Bring the trusted partners into the journey with you so we can help you kind of scope out. And that's something that we're engaging in. Stay tuned, more details at UBA, UBA. And that we've seen a lot of success and that it really resonates. As Dana said, GE Vernova, we're offering similarly managed services, et cetera, and integrated systems as part of our offering. But I think also something that allows us to stand out and be a better partner for Anterix is that we also bring a lot of industry application knowledge. When we think about why utilities want to make this move, right, it's because they're facing other issues. We're seeing that, AMI 2.0, the congestion on the grid, DER integration, wildfire mitigation, FLISR. These are all topics which utilities are facing, and this is why they need to make that infrastructure shift. That's the real problem behind that we are very well primed to solve as GE Vernova, because we can combine this telecom knowledge and this telecom portfolio, infrastructure portfolio with partners like yourself, while also bringing that really deep-seated application knowledge.
Yeah, and so as you mentioned, AMI 2.0 and these future applications, it feels like a lot of these areas are getting a lot of airtime, and it's very easy to talk about it. I was at a session a couple weeks back where it was about data strategies. So everyone was talking about the need for data, AI, really important to improve the efficiency and the operations of the grid. However, pretty quickly they talked about, what do you mean by real-time data, near real-time data? Someone said 15 minutes. Right? So that's not really real-time when situations happen in an instant. So here we're talking about milliseconds, right? Really, truly real-time data where you're getting information, whether it's at the edge or from a centralized control room in a more instantaneous fashion. So it really evolved into this highway that the utilities now have dedicated access to drive that data. So it's complementing data, AMI 2.0, AI type stories into one, why the foundational component of private networks is so important, right? And it's just something that we have to keep resonating on. And while we tell that story, the opportunity for folks to come in and ask questions early on, right, is going to be a key area there. And Jeff, from Nokia's perspective, right, are you seeing that shift also with the early engagement through the Accelerator program?
Yeah, I think Dana and Sue said it very well. It's kind of interesting, like I said in the beginning, how I believe that we're all kind of aligned in it, and a lot of the things that they're saying there, I'm of course nodding my head up and down as well, and would say almost exactly the same. But I think just to expand just a little bit, so again, timing I think is key, and those who engage early are gaining a real advantage. And they're entering into discussions with the ability to shape their roadmap and really accelerate their learning curve, I think as Sue mentioned, and position themselves to really lead and not follow as the grid modernizes. And by engaging now, utilities can make the most of the high value incentives being offered not only by Anterix, but also by Nokia, Ericsson, and GE as well. through this time-sensitive opportunity, and including cost-effective services from trusted partners like Nokia is something to also consider and think about. And I think Dana mentioned about managed services and understanding every utility is different and their needs are different and their abilities are different, and those also will change as they go throughout their own journey, right? So it really is just beneficial, I think, to get in early, and it helps also engaging with others through UBBA, through Anterix partnership, etc., to really help justify their own total cost of ownership, to create those models to help justify rate cases with stakeholders, etc., etc. So there's been early adopters, and there's been lots that we've all learned, I believe, along the way, right? So the goal is to really facilitate the communication across the industry between utilities and then across the ecosystem partners as well.
Yeah, and I know that there's that saying that no utility necessarily wants to be first, right? But the good news is that there are several that have already gone ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? So the next tranche of utilities that embark on building out their private networks, they have the ability to learn from those that have gone before, like we call a couple of their names, and also the services you bring to the table. So even if they're not sure how do they operate it from day one, the managed services component that you each spoke about, right, could be a great opportunity to derive the benefits of a private wireless network sooner, and then, right, over time, transition with their existing workforce. So there's so many options. What I'm hearing is that you're presenting to utilities right now that allows them to embark on this journey sooner with the right expertise at their side. So let's jump into more on collaboration, right? So at the heart of this initiative, right, collaboration is a key component. How does the alignment between Anterix and your organization help reduce barriers and accelerate deployment readiness?
Yes, thanks, Alice. And I think that the entire team, we've touched upon really the topic of reducing those barriers, de-risking what might be a risky endeavor or big endeavor if a utility is going at it alone. But once you have this strong and mature partner ecosystem, it's really about making sure that things are already, pre-integrated and also customized sometimes for the utility's needs, right? We were talking also about the curvature of adoption, and early deployment has that benefit in that you can tap really into the expertise of that partner network and make sure that a solution is really addressing your unique utility needs, because there are differences, right, between the customers. I think also this AnterixAccelerator program, one of the benefits is that by going in together, we are also, the rising tide lifts all boats, so to speak. And I think it has been great being on this panel for our audience to know that our answers were not pre-scripted or anything amongst the four of us. But again, seeing that we have such a very common view is something that a partner network can provide, that I think gives confidence as well to our utilities. It's not just one player here, one player there that's embarking or pushing along this journey. It's all of us together, giving that confidence and that sense of ease for our customers.
Thank you for that, Sue. Dana, anything you'd like to expand on there?
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Sue said about the collaboration. We obviously collaborate on the standards, but we're also here to collaborate to make sure that how the standards are applied and used in the utility space works for the utilities. So one example, we get a lot of questions about, Ericsson private wireless is deployed in one territory, Nokia's private wireless is deployed in a neighboring territory. How does this cross-border communication and roaming and failover and failback is happening? So I would like to mention to all the utilities listening to us today that I'll speak for you, Jeff. Both Nokia and us are happy to get together with you on another panel or a webinar and discuss this topic and explain how this investment in 3GPP standard network makes this cross-border communication possible, and also helping with mutual aid use cases, which is one of the use cases that will be tested at ABA this fall, to really make sure that this private wireless is not just useful for the utility, but it's also useful for the neighboring utilities that are, helping each other out in times of need.
Yeah. I know both of you are located in Texas, and that's where the last DistribuTech conference was held. And we were speaking to a number of our Texas utilities about that exact same thing, right? You have 3 utilities today that are using 900 megahertz there, and looking at the applications, not one is how do you work with each other on a border, but to your point, Dana, the additional benefits you get through cross-border communication, such as mutual aid, right? Cannot underscore that enough, right? And I think some of those use cases, it's similar to it's not a matter of if, but when utilities have to leverage those applications, it's for really massive events, right? For storms that happen in a more frequent basis. So it's really exciting to hear the way that your both organizations are working together, all 3 of your organizations, to solve for these critical and unique needs of the utilities. And Jeff, would love to get your perspective on the collaboration front.
No, I'm all for it. I think it's great. Maybe we'll make the news by what we're talking about here, right, between Ericsson and Nokia. But no, I totally agree. And I think at the end of the day, I know I said it before, but I really believe this. And this is, and I do go back to UBBA and our mission statement. I mean, I think we're all in it about, it's all about the success of utilities and what we need. And it's so powerful. I spent a number of years supporting CSPs, and nothing against CSPs, right? Love CSPs. But it's so rewarding to be a part of grid modernization and working on delivering the connectivity that enables these use cases. And these use cases really mean something, right? It's not just about faster speed or how can I necessarily download or watch Netflix, et cetera, right? I mean, these things that we're doing here, these use cases that we're enabling through our connectivity solutions, are truly having an impact on people's lives and the environment, right? And so I think the success of all of us here really will come back to benefit us all, right? So it's great to have the common goal. Also, I really have to remind folks within Nokia a lot of times that utilities are not necessarily like CSPs, right? So they're not in competition with each other, and so they really are truly sharing lessons learned and things to think about, and hey, we didn't think about this in the beginning, but you should think about it in the beginning. And so I just think that that's great, and that environment is just it's so great to be a part of that. And so I'm just, again, super excited to see where this goes, and fully committed to it for sure.
And Jeff, can you break down for the audience what CSPs are?
Oh, I'm sorry. So just normal service providers, right? So your tier 1 service providers. So this is kind of what I was referring to.
Yes,
so
that the audience that are more utility centric understand that. So the public network versus the private network, and all of the benefits that you're talking about that private allows the utilities and enables the utilities. And your system basically works on both. But with the wireless spectrum, they have the added advantage of having control and greater security on those networks. We actually had a utility give us their perspective when they were talking to a group of executives that, a lot of the applications from the utility strategic roadmap, as they discussed it, they came back in and said, well, again, how do you make this happen if your CSP or your carrier network goes down, or if there simply is no coverage today? Almost it's as simple as that. And it's a recognition that many of the programs that are in play at the utilities cannot be materialized as successfully without this underlying strategy behind it. So really great points there. Thank you for that, Jeff. Jeff, while you're on the floor, right, do you want to talk some more about the spectrum and what makes 900 megahertz particularly a strategic choice for grid modernization for utilities?
Yeah, sure, Alex. So I think I would say that 900 megahertz is particularly strategic, or a particularly strategic choice for grid modernization because it offers a significant coverage advantage, I think that most probably know, thanks to its lower propagation characteristics. And this means that utilities can reliably support a wide range of use cases over a large geographic area. And of course, what that does is it directly improves the total cost of ownership. Less sites can cover more area, right? And so for private wireless networks to truly replace those legacy proprietary technologies that we talked about before that use this current 900 megahertz mesh technology or those types of systems operating over the ISM band, this coverage efficiency is really critical, right? And so AMI 2.0 was mentioned once or twice already, but if we take that for an example, I believe that it's been said like more than 90% of the meters in the US today use proprietary mesh technology. And moving those to a future-proof 3GPP based technology like 900 megahertz private wireless ensures utilities that they can evolve their infrastructure in a way that supports advanced use cases, not just AMI 2.0, but also like MCPTT and distribution automation. And then last thing I'll say maybe is with the growing frequency of extreme weather events, and I think maybe Alice, you touched on that, and then also the urgent push towards clean energy goals, utilities really need a resilient, cyber secure network that can scale with their evolving needs. And LTE technology combined with the right spectrum band like 900 megahertz offers access to a vast global ecosystem we've mentioned a couple times of devices and solutions. So this really makes it a smart future-ready investment, and definitely it's an investment, long-term investment for utilities aiming to modernize their grid and improve real-time visibility and control.
Definitely that resonates. And we talk about the spectrum band and the technology itself. So I know you also mentioned like just thinking about the breadth of services that GE delivers, right, from the utility application standpoint. And utilities to have that trusted partner, and someone said trusted advisor too earlier on, is such a critical part of this process. So as we've been collaborating together over the past, I think maybe at least maybe a decade between our companies, and working with the utilities to really understand their needs so we could address it every step of the way. So this collaboration is not, while we've been doing it for some time, there's still a long journey ahead of us as we're supporting multi-decade deployments with utilities, right? So us being by the utility side already in the past for a significant amount of time and supporting them in the future, it's, I would say, maybe a third leg of that stool, in addition to the spectrum and also the technology itself. And when we think about the experience and the momentum in the market, are there any real world examples that you would like to highlight in how these conversations are landing with utilities? Dana, do you want to kick us off there?
Sure. You mean specifically around the accelerator program?
The accelerator program, and also how they're working in their journey in deployments of private LTE.
Yeah, so I'll reference a conversation we had last week actually with a utility in the Northeast. They've been talking about private LTE, thinking about private LTE, but last month they had a wind event, more than 80 miles per hour wind, in an area that they're not used to these type of high winds, unlike us in Texas. So they lost power to 50% of their customer base. It took more than a week to bring that power back up. They rely on the public carrier for connectivity. The public carrier towers, we deploy backup batteries for them, but those backup batteries last 24 hours, maybe at best 36 hours. So power was lost, communication was lost, and that's not a place you want to be in when you're trying to restore power to your customers. So that has bubbled up the conversation all the way to the top, going back to the board and say, we need to dust that private LTE business case all over again. We now have really compelling events that we need to think about this not just as a cost amelioration exercise, but really as a matter of us to continue to be able to serve our communities. So these type of examples, unfortunately, are not uncommon. They're becoming more and more common, and we see them moving the utilities more into exploring private wireless. And this timing with the accelerator program could not have happened at a better time for them to really take advantage of this program and the collaboration that we're bringing to the table to help move this conversation forward.
Yeah. And I'd love to invite Sue or Jeff if there are any other real world conversations you're having that you'd like to share with the audience.
Yes, definitely. Really resonating with what Donna said about this being kind of the right mix of things are happening at this time, where it's not about a theoretical future. We're talking about folks who have already implemented today, and with a regulation behind us as well, let's say with the FCC and the notice of proposed rulemaking. This is really a great, trifecta of events that's helping to promote momentum. And so one of the conversations that we have recently had is also with a customer in the West. And I think that this experience with that customer really touches upon all the things that we've been talking about today regarding just the importance of engaging early, importance of a partner ecosystem, et cetera. Because this customer was at the beginning of that journey. And they reached out to us in GE Vernova for our insights, again, because we have that application knowledge. What are those industry challenges that they want to solve, but also are able to bring forward the telecom experience and the telecom knowledge, and as well as the bench of expertise due to these types of partnerships. And I think that was very appreciated, in fact, by this customer, that we are able to understand what's the root problem to solve and really act as that consultative partner with them to hold their hand in a way down this private LTE journey. And I think that's something that it's very meaningful for us as well, because as Jeff said, we're solving real world problems here. It's not about Netflix, it's about things that are impacting. If we get this right, all of us benefit. We live in this society. So it's exciting for us to see. And it's also something that I think I would challenge more customers to do, is to go and embark on that journey early, bring expertise in early, allow folks like us in GE to partner with you early so that we can do a more consultative and design approach and really act as that partner, help you figure out the answers so that that you're getting something that's reliable, tailored as well to your needs in that local environment.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Now, my kids may say Netflix is a real world problem, but if you explain to them that there's no power to deliver service, right? Maybe it would resonate. Jeff, any conversations stood out with you from the utilities that Nokia serves?
Yeah, I think first thing, spot on by Sue. Couldn't have said it better. We always talk about the needing to really act as, of course, this trusted advisor, but acting in this consultative mode, right? So we find it most beneficial. We don't like to go in and straight away talk about the technology or straight away the solutions, right? Because we understand it's more than just the connectivity that this is about, right? It's really about what's the pain point, what problem are we trying to solve collectively as an industry, as an ecosystem, right? Connectivity is a very important point, but it's not just the connectivity, right? It's these use cases. And then so really trying to understand and walk through what's available or what a utility is trying to do. And it goes back to what I was saying before, kind of in a way, is that what a pain point is for a utility is not necessarily a pain point for a tier 1 CSP, right? Kind of referencing it back to that. And I think we all get that. I think that's why we're all here today having these discussions, right? So I think it's very important to start early on, as you say, and share learnings and really understand what the utility needs, what they're trying to get at. You know, but I would say from a technology perspective, I think we can see in the industry it is evolving. There is innovation occurring, I think, because of this partnership or this ecosystem of partners that are there. It's not just take what works for a CSP and force it upon a utility, right? We get that. It's not the same. We need to develop roadmaps that are going to continue to evolve to support the needs of a utility, right? And so maybe just to kind of end here, you were kind of also talking about real world examples. And, you know, I mentioned AMI 2.0 previously, which is a very hot topic, as we know. But really, we're supporting deployments already and discussions, real discussions beyond slideware, et cetera, for critical functions like falling conductor protection, which was mentioned before, to mitigate wildfire risks, DTT or direct transfer trip, to integrate distributed energy resources, and then FLISR or fault location isolation service restoration. And so I think that's exciting. And I think once the connectivity there's use cases that we don't even have an idea of yet, right? They're going to come. It is going to be the build it and they will come. So I think that is super exciting, and I can't wait to see, you know, what comes in the way of use cases in a year or two, right? Maybe we'll have another panel in 12 months and we'll look back and see what we predicted or what we thought may happen, and then kind of see what really did happen. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that conversation comes up more and more often, Jeff, in terms of the use cases that private wireless will support. So even if the utility starts with, let's say, 5 or 10 that their organization identified as important, as they go around the rest of their organization in the operations group, transmission group, customer services group, those use cases start to grow. And sometimes it's seeing that in action, that light bulb goes on, and they're recognizing, oh, these applications we didn't provide to you before, and then that business model starts growing. So I think that, to your point, we may not be able to identify every single use case that will go onto the network, but by laying this right foundation, you know that you could support the needs of today, the ones in tomorrow, like AMI 2.0, and the future ones that may not have yet been contemplated, but you have enough bandwidth, you have the right latency, you have the right security controls in place, and the ecosystem collaborators to come together to solve for those needs. You know, so they bringing in the groups early, right, helping identify what problems you're solving for and taking that consultative approach and having real solutions to present to the utilities is what I would say really exciting about the conversation with each of you today. I'd like to just ask one parting shot, an industry insight. If it's one thing that the audience would remember out of the many great things we've said today, what would that be? Sue, I'll kick it off with you.
I think what I want to impart upon everyone is, again, on this element of a partnership, right? And partnership is not just in the context of this vendor ecosystem as we have here in this webinar, it's also about partnering with our customers. So it's less of a vendor customer approach, and again, truly about that consultative approach where we are with each other from the very beginning of the journey to the very end of the journey, making sure it's something that's tailored, making sure that it's something that where we carry the risk and take pride as well in that full implementation. And so I would encourage all of those who are listening here today to really embark on strategic workshops with folks like ourselves at GE Vernova. It might not be about arriving at an answer. You might still be trying to investigate, but what we want to be able to do is support you in that investigation, regardless of where it goes down, what path it goes down. Because I think that getting involved early and being able to provide that both application level expertise as well as infrastructure and telecom expertise, we'll be able to come to a better solution together, and it might influence some of our customers' choices. They might be able to make a safer or more educated and more reliable, path forward. And that's ultimately what we want, right? Jeff was also mentioning earlier, it benefits all of us, and it truly does. And so we want to really, again, just encourage everyone to take us early on the journey. Let us be part of your investigation, and let us help you arrive at some answers, even if some of those answers aren't for GE Vernova ultimately to supply, right? We just want to be there on the system level and that consultative level with you.
Thank you for those insights, Sue. Dana, what would be your parting industry insights?
I would like to echo a statement that Jeff made earlier. Spectrum and infrastructure is one piece of the puzzle, but really what makes this whole initiative work is the use cases. So for all the folks listening here today, I would invite them to come visit us at the Utilities Innovation Center at Ericsson here in Plano, Texas. We have leaned heavily into partnerships and bringing in all those different use cases we talked about, from mission critical push to talk to wildfire mitigation, phase measurement, etc., to life on the 900 megahertz spectrum in our lab, where we show in real time how these use cases work, so that you take the mystery out of the slideware and just can help as a point of reference for utilities who are investigating what private LTE can do to them.
Thank you for that, Dana. It sounds like Texas would be the next stop. Speaking of Texas, Jeff, what would be your parting insights?
So what I'll say is since you're going to be in Dallas anyway, then you can also stop by Nokia's lab and visit us as well. So, but no, really appreciate the opportunity to participate in today's discussion. And one thing real quick I was thinking is that we're doing a lot of let us tell you how we can help you. I think we also in these discussions want to understand from your side, how can we help you, right? And what are we doing well, but then maybe more importantly, what are we not doing well, right? I'm sure there's things that we're not seeing. We learn every day, right? I say that all the time. I am not going to claim to be a utility expert, right? I'm smarter than I was yesterday, and I'm smarter than I was 2 or 3 years ago. But we get so much value in discussing with utilities every day, and really want to get that feedback so that we can improve, right? And I'm sure that Dana and Sue would agree with that as well. And what's compelling about this moment is that with a maturing ecosystem and these real proven real world deployments, right? Again, it's not pie in the sky, it's not slideware, it's not if. And then the collaborative frameworks like the AnterixAccelerator are super exciting. And I think with all of that, utilities have a clear supported path to modernization. They really do. And again, I think this standard-based approach is the right way. And as we all know, the grid is under more and more pressure, and it's going to continue to increase. And we're here to help utilities move faster, to build a foundation that's ready for what's next. And we know that what we're installing now can be, it can be in place for 10, 15, 20 years, right? So again, it's different than what you would typically see in a CSP. And last thing I'll say is it's definitely no doubt a journey. We've used the word journey a few times here. I think we all have, and I truly believe that. Being a marathon runner, I look at this as a race and a marathon, and we're far from the finish line, right? So we have to be persistent and keep moving forward. But it's more than just about us delivering technology. I mean, really, Nokia wants to be the trusted partner who will be with utilities every step of the way. And again, Alice, really thank you, and it's been a pleasure to be here speaking together with Dana and Sue.
It sounds like you're setting up the next industry insights for us, Jeff. Let's hear from the utilities what those needs are, but we are definitely very eagerly listening collectively what the utilities are saying. And to your point, over time, there would be more opportunities to hear from them, and we would be on point to respond. So I'm really encouraged by the conversation we had today. I learned new things also along the way, so thanks to each of you for taking the time out to have this discussion, to share what your organizations are doing respectively, to collaborate with us within the AnterixAccelerator, and look forward to working with you further. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.